and a good morning, good afternoon, and a very good evening to you, the good and wonderful people of YouTube. Hope today everything grand outdoors when you all hold it, everybody. Excuse me, please. Hope all is well. Hello there, everybody. Welcome to A&Q Wednesday, everybody. Before I get started today with question 1, if you want to submit a question for A&Q Wednesday, please go to the description box below. I'm getting quite a few comments recently of people asking where to submit questions. So submit questions, go to the description box below in these videos only, and there's an email link. Email me there your questions. Okay, so let's get to question 1 today. By the way, do you like the lighting? I really like it. It's really ambient. I mean, the winter sun is absolutely blaring through that window. You can probably see it in the reflection of the guitar, but it's absolutely gorgeous, and I love it. It's really nice and calming. Anyway, you can't beat natural light. I mean, diffuser lights are cool, but natural light, oh my god, you can't beat it. Anyway, get to question 1, Dave. Stop talking about light. Okay, so question 1 today is, I noticed your Chapman ML1 has brass saddles. Do you think they make a difference to tone or sustain on a Strat? And if so, does it become more pleasant to your ears? I would say brass saddles, and also the Chapman's got a brass block in the tremolo as well. I would say that brass adds more zing. It makes it like a Telecaster. When a Telecaster has brass saddles, they have a bit more of that classic Telecaster sound. They add a bit more kind of like presence, if you will. At least how I perceive it. Anyway, this is just going off my ears. But to me, the Chapman with brass saddles and a brass trem block, it has more presence and more zing. Like I say, it's just got a bit more of that Telecaster vibe, which I'm kind of not surprised that Chapmans have that, because obviously Rob's kind of favourite guitars are Telecasters. You know, you can see it, you know. So my ML1, both of them, but they both got brass blocks and both got brass saddles, and they do have more of a Telecaster-y vibe to them. When you plug them in, they've got a little bit more of that telly thing. They really do. It's really hard to describe without me just waffling on about the same old, you know, same words coming out. But it's really hard to go. But I think they do make a difference. It's the same in relation to steel tremolo blocks on Stratocasters versus zinc blocks on Stratocasters. Steel block tremolos add a presence to the guitar. It's weird. I never used to kind of like believe it'd make any difference whatsoever. Look at that light. That's how cool is that? It's like a halo. I never used to believe that kind of like zinc blocks, steel blocks would make much of a difference. But as kind of like I've kind of like, you know, developed over the years and stuff, and having gone between zinc block tremolos and steel block tremolos in the same guitar, it makes a whole world of difference. It's really weird. It's really strange. It does add more presence to the sound of a guitar. As for sustain, I don't really know. I mean, I never really noticed much difference in sustain personally. My guitars have always kind of like, they always sing. You know, that's one of the key factors I look for when I buy a guitar is, does it sing? You know, it's that whole idea of like when you hit a note, does it sustain? You know, I don't like it when things go dit 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 dit. Apart from if it's a Jaguar, which Jags just do that anyway, and I like that very much. But like I say, there is a difference between steel block tremolos, brass block tremolos, and zinc block tremolos, and there is a difference between steel saddles and brass saddles. To me, to my ear, definitely. It sounds, you know, it sounds a bit kind of like, you know, down the Eric Johnson heroic side of things, but I really do feel there is a difference. Check out that winter sun, man. It's getting more. I might have to move the camera in a minute, people. Actually, I'll tell you what. Let me move it now because I think that might be a bit annoying. I did like it to start with, but there we go. I did like it to start with, but I think it's kind of annoying after a while. I don't want to annoy you. So, that winter sun is powerful today. It's like absolutely, there's barely any cloud in the sky. Anyway, it's not weather report with Dave Simpson. But yeah, so I do think they make a difference. I really do. I really can hear and feel the difference when I'm playing it as well. Like I say, the Chapman's got a lot of zing. It's really nice. I really like the way it sounds. And it sounds different to all my other guitars, which is one of the reasons why I love it so much. And again, it's my main gigging guitar, the Chapman. The Pro X is my main gigging guitar. It just rules as a live guitar. It really does. It's so stable, and I just love it. I love the way it sounds. Having the humbucker in the bridge position covers a lot of bases for me as well, because there's some songs where I kind of like want the humbucker thing, but I don't want to change guitar. I don't really like changing guitar. I mean, I changed guitar in the trio set not quite a bit, but I changed guitars just for different tunings, just because it's easier than retuning the guitar you've got. Because we go between standard and E flat, and soon we'll be going between standard, E flat, and D standard as well, and possibly different tunings as well on the horizon. Open C, anybody? Anyway, but that's a double neck away right now. But I do think that saddles make a massive difference. They really do. It's the same as nuts. I think nuts make a difference as well. Like if you've got a brass nut or a bone nut or a graphite nut or whatever. I think there's quite a lot of little contributing factors to how it makes your guitar move, if that makes any sense. Like, I feel nuts not necessarily tonally, but more of a kind of... I would say a nut is more of a sustained thing, because I find if the string's too kind of clamped in there and too tight, it kind of kills the guitar. Whereas if you get the nut cut just right, it lets the guitar sing. And if the nut's cut too big and it kind of like moves about the place, it's just a bit too flubby and it doesn't really work. But again, yeah, saddles, block, nut, you know, all those kind of things, I think they're really important, and they do have a difference in my opinion. I mean, for what that's worth. I mean, people with a tube, I put this question to you. Brass saddles, steel saddles, brass tremolo block, steel tremolo block, zinc block. What are your experiences with this? Do you think it makes a difference? Let us know in the comment section below. And if so, what is it that you think is the difference? And if not, what is it that you don't think why it makes a difference? Let us know in the comment section below. Also, let us know about nuts as well, people with tube. I'm curious about your opinion on nuts. Because, like I say, I always find brass saddles to add a bit more sustain. If they're cut... oh, no, sorry. I find... nuts, if they're cut right, to add a bit more sustain, should I say. I think I said brass saddles. I'm an idiot. Anyway, it's early. But I always find if a nut's cut perfectly, then the guitar will sing more. If it's cut badly, it'll choke it. And if it's cut too loosely, it'll just be kind of like blah, 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 like a blobby jelly thing. Let me know, people tubing the thing. But I don't think nut material really matters that much. I mean, I've got a brass nut in the 79. This is just like this isn't, I don't know, this is just a plastic nut in the ST. The 62 has just got like I don't know what it is. It's not bone anymore. The original bone one came out. It's not a bone nut on the 62, and I didn't notice any difference in tone due to the nut material. That 62 still sounds the same. It's just because the old bone nut was so tired and kind of worn out. It was starting to. It was doing that flubby thing. The grooves were just a bit too big in it. But anyway, people tube, let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. Let us know. Okay, so I hope that's the question. I'm going to move on to question 2 now. So question 2 today is I want to know if I use a multi-effects unit like the Zoom G1, for example, only as an amp simulation, and then I use a DS2. Will it not have the volume? Will it not have the volume jump of the DS2? So yeah, so if you use the Zoom as an amp simulation the same way I use my Golden Plexi or my jackhammer, will it control the DS2's volume jump? Yes, it will. Can I demonstrate that? I don't know if I've got anything set up in here. Hang on. Okay, so let me just turn that down. So that's just that's my Zoom G2's distortion. So now if I lower the gain all the way down to simulate, let's bring the tone a bit. Oh, not that much. So I'm using the Mesa Boogie amp model inside the Zoom G2. Actually, I'll tell you what, let me turn the compressor off as well, it'll be even cleaner. So now I've got that kind of John Frusciante pseudo kind of tone, that kind of like, you know, broken up, dirty, clean. That will control the DS2, yeah. So if I go from the... If I kick on the DS2, hopefully there won't be much of a volume jump. No, there isn't. So it does control it. More reverb than I need on it because I'm from the intro jam, but yeah, it will control it. Like I say, that's just the Zoom G2s. No pedals are on apart from basically the only thing that's working right now is the G2. And again, once you kick on the DS2, there's no volume jump. So yeah, that will work. Yeah. No problems there. So if you get like an amp simulation that's going to give you that dirty, clean tone of John's, that will control the DS2, yes, because of the compression it's adding. If you don't have that compression, and it's not a compressor pedal, that responds in a different way. Now it's gone dark, the sun's gone away. Typical. Trying to light this room at this point in time is like really difficult. Anyway. I still love it. I like fluctuations in light. I like living in the darkness like some kind of weird goblin. Well, you are a goblin, Dave. Look at your face. Anyway. Yeah, if you get kind of like one of those dirty things, it's the compression from gain, from distortion or overdrive. It's not the compression from a compressor pedal. That will do something completely different to the DS2. I can show you quickly. Like, for instance, if I crank up... Maybe not that much. Maybe about 8 there. So, I don't know how well you'll be able to hear that. So, this is without the compressor. This is weird. You can hear it squish. So, let me max out that level on that, actually, because that'll probably be better. So, you can hear the compressors kind of really... Let me put it up to 9, make it really drastic. You know, you can hear that compressor working overtime there. The DS2 will now respond totally different to that because of the compressor. It will basically kill it too much. You'll notice a distinct volume loss when I kick on the DS2. Whereas, like I say, if I go back to that, if I go back to the Mesa Boogie model on the Zoom, there we go. So now it'll be a volume just kind of level. You can almost barely like perceive when I turn it off to when I turn it on. It's very similar. Maybe more so now. You know, so yeah, you can do that. You can use something like the Zoom G1, sorry. You can use that to control it, but make sure it's an amp model with kind of a fairly high gain structure. Something like a Plexi or like something like a JCM 800 or whatever, or something like that, or something like a Mesa Boogie. You know, the Zoom's Mesa Boogie models are normally my favourites, which is really, really weird because I don't like Mesa Boogie amps. But the Mesa Boogie models inside the Zooms, I've always used them. In my Zoom 606, I used a Mesa Boogie model. And in my Zoom G2.1U, when I use distortion in it, which is very rare now, but this sound, that's the Mesa Boogie, I think it's like a Mark 1 model, and I really like it. I love the mid-range of it. It sounds really great for... It sounds wicked, and it sounds great for palm muting. It's really percussive and just sounds amazing. So if you're using an amp model like that, that's kind of got a dirty, clean thing to it anyway, yes, that will control the DS1. Like I say, it's not a compressor pedal. The compressor pedal will do something totally different to the DS2. It won't round it off. it'll maintain the harshness of the DS2. Because the DS2 is actually quite, without like dirty kind of clean, the DS2 is actually a nasty pedal. Yeah, it's a bit of a gnarl to it. Whereas if you have that dirty clean, it's a lot more smoother. Yeah, it works just better in general, really. So, like I say, it's a bit of a diva pedal, but it is a lot nicer. So yeah, if you get it set right, dirty clean, no, maybe not any compression, or if you are using a compressor, use the level. Don't use the compression to drive it, unless you're going for that blood sugar sex magic kind of thing, in which case, go for it. But it won't be that kind of classic John tone, so to say, because John didn't really have that sound ever again after blood sugar sex magic. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. But yes, it will work. So I hope that's made some kind of sense. Yeah, I really hope that's made some kind of sense. Okay, so I'm going to move on to question 3 now. Question 3? Yes, it is. Okay, so just making sure. Okay, so question 3 today is, question 3's got a couple of different parts to it, people of the tube, so bear with me. Okay, so part 1 of question 3 is, given that artists go to great lengths to record the best sound possible, do you listen to their music on a decent hi-fi system that does their efforts justice? Yes, where I can. You know, if I'm in the van, obviously, you know, if I'm driving, that's kind of like difficult. But if I'm like here, I love to listen to things through Queenie's Ashdown monitors. They sound amazing. If I'm at home, I've got my really good speakers at home. Yeah, I always have that. I mean, like I know what I like to hear things. I like to be able to hear all of things as well, and I like stereo. I like when kind of like you can hear like Stadium Arcadium, for instance, the Chili Peppers album. I like it when you're listening to it on 2 separate speakers that are kind of good distance apart. You can hear where things are, like sonically on the spectrum. So you can hear like John's guitar is there, Flea's bass is there, and Chad is there, and then there's another guitar that comes in over here, and then there's a guitar solo that's over here, and stuff like that. And the same thing goes for John's soul albums as well. I love it when you can hear things all over the place. I like that, and you can't get that if you're listening to things on your phone or just one speaker. And unfortunately, you can't get that when you're in a diesel van. But still, I do like the speakers in my van, but they're not. It is what it is. You know. Yeah. What do you expect? But when I can listen to music like that, I do love it. Like having decent speakers and stuff like that is a yes. I've always liked having decent CD players that are clear and not muddy. I like having good speakers. I like to have things loud as well, and I love when things have distance between them, so I can actually the sound spreads. If that makes any sense. I don't like it when it's kind of like, I don't mind listening to things on my phone if I'm kind of doing something. But I miss the sonic space of music when it's like that. But it's one of those things that like sometimes if I'm learning a song or something, it's just a lot easier just to kind of like get it on my phone and just kind of quickly noodle about and figure it out. But invariably, when I sit down to listen to music and really enjoy music, it's invariably on good speakers. Yeah, and again, I like to hear stereo images. I don't necessarily like mono images. I like it when things are spread. When I listen to music, obviously some albums I've got aren't stereo, some are mono, but I do like when things move about. Like Voodoo Child, A Slight Return, for instance, like, you know, when Jimmy's guitar's panning from speaker to speaker, and when you can sit in front of that or in a room and you can feel that thing swirling around, my God, it adds a whole new layer to it as well, and it's more 3D. It's just got more of a 3D thing. And again, I always see music on this kind of spectrum. There's like a line. In my mind, there's a line. And it happens when I listen to music and also when I'm recording or mixing music or whatnot. Is there's a line of things. Like, you've got the middle, and then you've got the left side of the spectrum, and then you've got the right side of the stereo spectrum. And along this line is where things sit. So, for instance, like when we did Wicked Game in the trio, I knew I wanted Queenie's bass and John Joe's drums straight down the middle, and John Joe had panned his kit, so there's like cymbals coming off left and right, which is awesome, but I wanted the main bulk of his kit down the middle, and the vocals had to sit down the middle as well. The double track vocals sit down the middle, bass and the main part of the drums sit down the middle, and the cymbals are kind of off to this side. And then I wanted my guitars to sit over on the right and over on the left. I never wanted the guitars too close to the drums and the bass or the vocal in the middle. I wanted them kind of cut quite far out, so when they kick in, it just adds more to the stereo image. So I think the first guitar, the main kind of like rhythm guitar of Wicked Game, is, I know this is backwards for you, I do apologise people with YouTube, your left is my right and vice versa. But, so when I'm kind of looking at it like this, like, you know, well, from your perspective, like I say, this is middle, that's right, that's left. So my main rhythm guitar is here. So this is where the vocals, the drums, and the bass are. They're straight down the middle. I can't do that. There we go. So that's where they are. They're straight down the middle. And my rhythm guitar is like here. That's the main guitar. And then there's another guitar that comes in over here, and it's a little bit further over. And then the choir, there's a choir in there that comes in. It's a little bit closer to the drums. And then there's also an orchestra sound off the Mel 9, and that comes in, and that's over on the right side. And I think it's kind of like somewhere, yeah, because the orchestra's over here, the choir's the orchestra over here, the choir's over here, and then I've got some more guitars on the outside as well. I've got a DS2 guitar. I've also got the white Les Paul Custom doing a big distorted tone as well. I think there's something like 8 guitars on Wicked Game or something like that, not including the choir and orchestra. There's a lot going on in that song to build it, like, you know, yeah, so there's a lot going on there. And again, that's how I like to hear sound and feel sound, is like, you know, on that stereo spectrum. So you got your middle, and you got your left, and you got your right, and I like to hear where things sit. The same thing goes with the Trio album as well. On the Dave Simpson Trio album, my guitar is off to the left side slightly. Ian panned my guitar slightly off to the left. I'm not down the middle where Queenie, the bulk of John Joe's drum kit, and my vocals are. I'm slightly off to the left side, and overdubs are off to the right. So that's the way it is. And when I listen to music, again, especially people like Jimi Hendrix or John Frusciante or anybody like that, I like to get the stereo image. You know, I like to be able to hear the whole thing, the whole sonic spectrum. I don't want to hear it through a speaker the size of a pinhead, unless it's unavoidable. You know what I mean? If you know, sometimes you can't, unfortunately, you can't avoid listening. You can't avoid not listening to music on not particularly great speakers, and that's okay. You know, I mean, at the end of the day, it's music, and if I can hear music, I'm happy. But I like the experience of when you've got really good speakers and you just kind of hear things. You're like, oh my god, what is that noise in the background? You know, it's really cool. These speakers that I use in here, that are Queenie's, they're Ashdown monitors. They're prototypes that she bought from Ashdown, and these are some of the best studio monitors that I've ever heard. And they're just so clear, and they're so easy to mix on. And they're just like, you know, you really get the sonic spectrum really well. You can really hear where things go. And when we were doing Wicked Game and mixing that, it was just an absolute dream for me, because I can really place things where I want them to be, and it gives me all the frequencies I want to hear, and it's just heaven. These speakers are amazing. I don't know if Ashdown make them. I'm pretty sure they do, but these two that Queenie's got are prototypes, but they are amazing. So they're definitely worth looking into if you're after a pair of really good monitors. These Ashdown ones are incredible. I don't know the make of them though, so I do apologise on that one. But if you go on Ashdown's website, I'm sure it'll be there. But they sound incredible. They really do sound incredible, and I love them to bits. I'm just happy I get to use them. It's great. But yeah, I always try to, if I can, to listen to music in the best way possible. I don't like listening to things on phone unless it's totally unavoidable. You know, you can't beat real speakers, and you can't beat stereo, in my opinion. I love when things are all over the shop. I don't like when things are just straight down the middle. Certain respects, that's cool, but I always like things all over the place. I really do. I just prefer that. It's always appealed to me. And again, it's Jimi Hendrix and John Frusciante's influence on how they do their albums. It's got me. So you got like Eddie Kramer and people like that, and Rick Rubin and people like that who have got influence on that as well. So I do, yeah. So anyway, that was a long way around, Dave. Okay, so anyway, question 3, part 2, because I'll be there all day talking about that if I'm not careful. Have you ever played an Electro, resonator, or a lap steel pedal guitar or dobro? Yes, I've played many. I used to have a resonator guitar. There's a video on it somewhere, I'm sure. it was really nice. It played really great and sounded great, but it rattled. The spider in the cone rattled all the time, and I did whatever I could to shut it up, and it just never stopped rattling. So eventually I sold it just to get rid of it. I couldn't cope with the rattle. It was a really annoying noise, and I sold it to a guy who didn't mind. So hey, but I did have that. But when I was in Old Hat, I got to play a lot of lap steel guitars, a lot of dobro guitars. We had quite a few. We had some really nice old. We had some really cool old Fender ones. We had a mother of pearl one, but I can't remember what the make of that one. I think it was. I don't remember what it was, but we had some Gibson. We had some Gibson. I think I had the Skylarks. We had 2 Gibson Skylarks. We had a couple of others as well, and I can't remember for the life of me what the mother of pearl one was, but it was absolutely stunning, as you can imagine. People achieve. It was just all like. It was obviously laid mother of pearl. It was wood, but it was kind of like this kind of like mother of pearl thing on it. But it looked amazing, and I forget for the life of me what make that was. But I remember we had some Fenders, we had some Gibsons, we had some other ones as well. But they were amazing. I've never tried a pedal steel. That is the only lap style guitar I have not tried as a pedal steel. I've tried lap steel, and I say I've a dobro and resonators. But I have not tried a pedal steel. And in all fairness, I kind of have no desire to try one. My friend Matt plays one. And it's just like, how are you doing that? They're just crazy, like, you know, with the levers to bend strings and the pedals you can press with your feet, and then the levers you can move with your knees to get different things. It's like, you know, I have trouble with 6 strings, just keeping that in my mind. I'm simple, I'm stupid. I can't do pedal steel. I'm not that clever. You know, I'll leave that to a lot cleverer and better musicians than I am. But no, that is something I've never tried. But again, I don't really have the desire to try it. But I would like a lap steel guitar at some point. There is actually one for sale nearby that's very, very cheap at this point in time. But at this point in time, my money is going elsewhere in certain things. I have to save to do certain things at this point in time. But I can't afford to buy it right now. But I have tried many, yeah, I really like them. I think they sound great, they feel great, they're fun. I love what you can do with them, sound and tonally, it's great. And I'll have one day. I will have one day. But until then, I'm happy with just playing slide on regular guitar. But yeah, I would like a really nice resonator as well at some point. But again, you know, it can wait. I'm not in any particular rush for a resonator or anything like that. But yeah. So I've tried them all apart from the pedal steel. I've never tried a pedal steel. But again, I have no real desire to do that. So the last part of question 3 is, if you lived in an age before social media, how would you make a living? Would you try making a crust as a musician, session guitarist, songwriter, or would you be doing something away from music industry? No, I'd be doing music. I'd be definitely trying to do music. If I lived in the 60s or 70s, if I was around the 60s, 70s and 80s or 90s, or even early 2000s when phones still weren't a big thing and social media wasn't a big thing, well, wasn't as big thing as it is now, I would still be doing music. You know, I wouldn't give up on my dreams of being a professional musician just because the internet didn't exist, if that makes any sense. Like, you know, I would be still doing this. You know, I've been doing this for I've been doing it for 20 years this year. I've been playing guitar 20 years in May, and I still love it now as much as I loved it when I first started playing guitar. It's not diminished in any way, shape or form. So I would still be trying to make a living out of music. I would be trying to gig. I'd be trying to record albums. I'd be trying to tour. I'd be doing all the stuff that I'm trying to do now. And who knows, I might have had more success. But who knows? I doubt that highly. But anyway, who knows? Who knows? The world is a weird place. And definitely in this day and age. Especially, yeah, social media is a blessing and also a curse. I feel it's great, but it's also really, really bad. There's good and bad with it, it really is, and it's hard to kind of like it's hard to completely bash it, but it's hard to completely defend it, if that makes any sense. Yeah, I feel very locked with social media and what it is, and like I say, if I didn't have social media, I wouldn't be here now, and I wouldn't have you awesome people supporting me, and I wouldn't be able to do this. Or would it be a different world where, you know, if there isn't social media, you could just I don't know, people too. It's a rabbit hole, and if we start going down there, where does it end? It really does feel like that. But again, I am grateful to YouTube and social media for giving me the ability to do what I do, and I'm grateful for it to bring in my music to you out there, and for you to connect with it, and that really is everything. That really is everything to me. Because that's all I really want with my playing and my music now, is I want it to connect with people. I don't really. I don't care about kind of like being the best guitarist in the world. I don't care about being the flashiest guitarist in the world, this, that, and the other. I just want to be the best musician I can be and make the best music I can make and play the best I can play, so it actually connects with people on that emotional level. So, like I say, to make them feel better if they don't feel better, or make them happy if they're sad, or make them feel like there's hope when they feel there isn't anything like that. And because that's what music did for me. You know, that's what music did for me. It always gave me hope when I felt I had nothing. You know, and it picked me up when I fell. You know, it's so. And I trust in music 100%. I was talking to Queenie about this the other day, and I was saying I don't doubt in music for 1 second. I totally believe and trust in music 100%. You know, I've given myself to music. That's as simple as that. You know, it can do what it wants with me. You know, if it wants heavy rock stuff like the intro jam today, I'll do that. If that's what it wants, that's what I'll do. If it wants John Frusciante stuff, I'll do that. If it wants Jimi Hendrix, I'll do that. Whatever, you know. If it wants electro-y, psychedelic-y stuff, whatever, I'll do that. But music is my purpose for being. It's my purpose for being here. It's what's kept me here the longest. You know, without music, I wouldn't be here talking to you right now, PeopleTube, and that's the truth. You know, I've had some very disparaging, annoying comments in the past couple of months where people have been calling into question my mental health and how bad it actually isn't. And it's like, well, okay, you can believe what you want, but you're not me, and you haven't been through what I've been through, and you haven't been through the experiences I've been through. Don't question my mental health history just because of the way I seem now, or the way I seem I've seemed, or this, that, and the other. You know, my mental health is not great. You know, it never has been, and it never will be, thanks to what happened to me. You know, the trauma I experienced when I was at school will never go away. But to have somebody saying, like, you know, like downplaying it, somebody who doesn't even know me and hasn't been there through certain situations that I've been through and certain places I've been, and because of it, to have them comment saying you don't have it bad is very insulting. And in all fairness, I don't really get riled up too much by troll comments, but when somebody's questioning something like that I've lived with since I was maybe about 10 or 11, well, about 11 years old, 12 years old, and lived with for my entire life so far, and only recently just got a handle on it, it's very insulting, and it's very ignorant on that person's part to believe they actually know and understand your life when they don't even know who you are. And I really don't like that. It's like, you know, I don't interject your opinions on my life. You weren't there, you know. But there seems to be a lot of that. There's a lot of that. But again, social media, good and bad. You know, there is, you know, the good side is you lot watching now who mean the world to me. You know, like I said, without you watching, I wouldn't be doing this. So, you know, I'm forever grateful to every single one of you who watches this and likes and subscribes and comments, you know, and supports the channel, and especially people on Patreon, you know, people who support me on Patreon, who are basically keeping this channel alive, you know, because it's everything to me. It really is. It's everything to me, you know, and I'm not going to give it up just, you know, for any reason. You know, I'm not. This is who I am. This is what I do, and I'm not about to go out and get another job because this is my job. If that makes any sense. Anyway. But yeah, if I lived in an age before social media, how would I make a living? Same way I am now. It just would be without. I would just be doing it on a stage, hopefully, and doing it in different ways, which I still, you know, strive to achieve. You know, I would love to be able to tour and play music all around the world and stuff like that. But again, you know, without backing and without, you know, without serious amounts of money, you forget it. But I don't want to talk about it. It depresses me. It really upsets me. I don't want to talk about it. Anyway, but yeah. So either way, I'd be making my living through music because I love it, and that's all. That's all I do. This is my job. This is what I do. This is who I am. If that makes any sense. Anyway, I hope I made some kind of sense to you. But I've got this thing in my back of my brain. It's like, you're coming across like an egotistical Dave. You're just like, you're an idiot, and like, my lovely dark voice jumps up when I start talking about things like this and saying like, you're an idiot, Dave, and nobody likes you. And yeah, anyway, you're just being an egotistical arse. Anyway, shut up, brain. Okay, so anyway, I hope this answers your question. I'm going to move on to the final question of the day, question 4, before I get sidetracked by this stupidity up here in my brain. Okay, so question 4, final question of the day, PuppetTube, is I noticed there is very little buzz / noise coming from your pedals when you sorry, let me start that again. I noticed there is very little buzz / noise coming from your pedals. When I turn my Boss DS2 or fuzz, they go wild. What do you do to reduce noise and buzzing coming from guitar, pedals and amps? I use a Strat Orange CR60 and a Frusciante inspired pedal board. Okay, so what do I do to reduce noise is like I say, because I basically just run pedals. Like my amp is set totally clean, so that's my Marshall. That's the Marshall. And it doesn't matter how loud I go with this amp. So that's on 10 now. That's louder than all hell. There's no real noise apart from amp hiss because it's cranked. But turn it down more. But because the amp's set clean, that's my bass. So if all my pedals are off, I know it'll be quiet, and I can turn the guitar up full, and I can let go of the guitar, and it's not going to buzz, it's not going to go crazy. So, and the same thing with Golden Plexi or the Marshall Jackhammer, because they're such low gain, they don't add any buzz because they're low gain. So it doesn't matter where the guitar goes. Again, single coil pickups, these aren't kind of like stacked or anything. There's no buzz because it's too low gain. So that'll never buzz. So I know my core clean tone and my John Frusciante dirty clean tone are silent as a mouse. They're never going to buzz. Different story when I get to the Marshall Governor. You can immediately hear that. So, off, on. Let me turn the amp up a bit, you'll be able to hear it even more. So, this is just clean, and then Marshall Governor goes on. And then the 60 cycle comes in. So, and again, it's even more if I turn on the Golden Plexi with the Governor, it'll feed back, but yeah, so you can hear there's a lot of amp noise there, but if I turn the volume down, it goes away. So that's the Governor and the Golden Plexi on, but the volume down on the guitar, so I've got no noise. But if I turn it up, it kicks in. But like I say, if I want total silence, I manipulate my volume control as well. So if I'm playing like, let's get to a volume control really quick. Instead of going, so you can hear the buzz, and then volume off. So I manipulate the volume a lot on my guitars. I use the volume a lot just to kind of shut the amps up when it's quiet. If you watch some songs we do live with the trio, my hand is constantly going between the volume all the way off and all the way on and all the way off and all the way on. You know, we got a song called Are You Alright where I used the Governor and the Boss DS2, and in the chorus I have to go, sorry, verse. No. Can't do it because I'm sat down, it feels weird. But I'm literally volume off, volume on, volume off, volume on. You know, just so it's nice and clean and crisp. And again, this is one other reason why I love Stratocasters, is I can do that. The volume's right there. And sometimes I'll just turn the pedal off and on. You know, I can do that. So I can do it like that as well. But invariably, it's easy just to do volume control. So, like I say, my main clean tone is really clean. So there's not going to be any noise on that because there's barely any gain on it. Golden Plexi, the John Frusciante thing, still clean. It's not going to add any buzz. It never does. All the venues I ever play in, as soon as I kick on like the jackhammer and the Golden Plexi, it's still not buzzy because again, it's too low gain to kind of really kick off the 60 cycle. You know, it's still kind of gainy. It's borderline AC/DC, but not quite. But it's still not enough to kick in the 60 cycle hum. But again, when you add mass distortion like the Governor, it will buzz. And the thing with the DS2, a lot of people say this about the DS2, is like, how do you get it to be quiet? And it's basically, you turn it on when you want it, and you turn it off immediately when you don't want it. So if you're playing kind of like, I don't know, like something like this, and then go into DS2, you have to turn it off and on because the DS2 is a noisy pedal. You can hear it hissing. And if you turn it on with your volume up, it just feeds back immediately, especially if you've got it maxed out like, you know, like I've got it now, or like John Frusciante ran it. You know, it'll immediately feed back, Kurt Cobain style. And if you turn your volume off, you still have loads of amp hiss. And because I like to combine the Governor with the DS2, you get this. And I'm not even loud and it's going crazy feedback. So what you do is you just turn it off and on when you want it. And you can hear John do it with the in Other Side at Slane Castle. You know, you can hear him turning it off and on. And the thing about the DS2 is you can't stop. You can't do kind of like those kind of like staccato-y blues lines like you can with something Clee. You can't do that with DS2 because this is... Because there's too much ambient noise, so you'd have to turn it off and on between licks. Off. Which is doable. But you can't leave a pedal like that on. John never did. You know, if you've listened to some... the only times when John really leaves the DS2 on is like Suck My Kiss. And if you listen to the Bizarre Fest, it's kind of hard to hear it audibly in some of the things. But in Bizarre Fest, you can hear his amp making this kind of noise all the time. It's buzzing, basically. But for Suck My Kiss, John actually dialed down the distortion on the DS2. But yeah, so... to cut down on noise, like I say, I just use certain techniques, like, you know, well, techniques, little kind of coping things, like turning the volume off, turning the pedals off. Like if I know, if a song's coming to a dead stop and I've got, like, say, the Governor and the DS2 on, so it build up at the end, and then it needs to stop on the A, I'll turn them off, so I'm back to clean. So I know it'll just dead silence then, and there's no gain, there's nothing that's going to kick 60 cycle hum. So that's how I do it. It's not, there's no real any secret because it is buzzy. My setup does buzz like a beast, especially when it's louder, and especially in certain rooms, again, especially if there's certain lights coming through the pickups and all sorts of stuff. But because my core tone is just so clean, as soon as if I want to get away from that noise, all I have to do is turn the pedals off or turn the volume down. You know, and then it's just totally silent again. And again, that's just come through years of experimenting with what I've done and developing my pedal board and me understanding it and how to manipulate it, so to say. If that makes any sense. But yeah, so that's how I do it. Occasionally I will use the noise gate in the Zoom, but not really all the time. Because it can kind of like stifle things. Give you an idea. I can demo this. In all fairness, the noise gate in the Zoom's really good. I've always liked the noise gate in the Zoom G2. I've always used it. I mean, I don't have it on most, well, I don't have it on some of the time now. It kind of depends on where I'm playing. But if I turn it off, this is the noise gate off. Well, because I just turned it back on. But then if I turn it on, there's no difference. You know, it doesn't. The Zoom noise gate, really, the ZNR, the Zoom noise reduction, really doesn't affect your sound. It just goes after those pesky frequencies, and it's really, I've used it off and on for years and years and years, and I've always loved it. I've always preferred it as a really cool thing. But sometimes I don't want it on. Sometimes I do. It just depends how I feel. It's the only real thing in the Zoom I kind of mess about with, and it invariably doesn't even cross my mind to turn it on sometimes or turn it off sometimes. I forget sometimes if it's on or if it's off. It does, because it never really affects the sound. And again, because of the way I explained how I run things, it kind of doesn't really matter if it's on or off. But sometimes in a particularly maybe noisy pub or something like that, or if you set up next to like a Bandit or something, you might need it. But you know, I do quite like amps buzzing, because you can kind of feel they're alive. It's like when you plug into like a Marshall Plexi and you dime the thing, and it's just kind of like hissing and buzzing at you, and you know, you just gotta, you know, you hit the low E chord and it feels great. I like that thing. I do like dead silence because it's really good for stops. Like it is now, it's just totally dead. But sometimes I do like to kind of like have amp noise. So I think it adds a little bit of cool ambience, to be honest with you. I mean, it's quite nice to have it every now and again. Not all the time. Sometimes it gets very annoying. But, you know, that's how I do it. And again, I think that's come from, again, because I'm a single coil nut, because I love single coils so much, I've had to kind of like find a way to be able to get around 60 cycle hum in certain places. Because sometimes you don't get the choice of where you plug your mains into. It can be very, very dirty, the power. So it can be very, very buzzy, very, very noisy. So having a totally clean bass, I like, you know, if my amp was cranked all the time, if I was using my amp for distortion, I wouldn't be able to get away from that, so to say, because that would be kind of like, you know, already, it'd be like the governor all the time. So it'd be this sound all the time. And the only way I get around is to turn the volume down constantly, which is, again, not really an issue, but sometimes it could get kind of frustrating. So having a totally clean amp and just using my pedals, and I can turn them off and on however I feel to get rid of noise or whatever, is just, I just prefer it. I just prefer it. I like it. So yeah. Anyway, I hope that made some kind of sense. He's worried now, isn't he? Yeah, as usual. It's not. Yeah, it's the last question that got me. Anyway, either way, I hope it's made some kind of sense to you, and I hope it's a good enough answer. As usual, I always feel my answers are garbage, but hopefully there's something in there you can kind of take away, and hopefully it makes some kind of sense. Anyway, so yeah, anyway, that's all questions done for today, people. I hope I answered them okay. I hope there's something in there you can take away, and hope there's some kind of information that was worthwhile. You know, that I said. Other than that, yeah, if you want to submit a question for NQ Wednesday, description box below. Please consider becoming a Patreon if you like the channel. There's also links to my Bandcamp in the description box below, and as well as merch as well, which I would like to get some new stuff on there, but it's taking time, and Teespring is not playing ball. What's new is technology. Anyway, but I hope you enjoyed this video, people tube. I will see you on Friday for another vid. Until then, have a great morning, afternoon, and good evening, and a very, very goodbye now. Here's a big E chord with all my distortion pedals on. Check this out for noise. And yay! Okay, goodbye now. Thank you very much indeed for watching.